The first month of 2019 is already coming to a close, but we've already got a lot of Kickstarters for you for the week of January 28th, 2019. We're starting off big with Dead Man's Cabal from Pandasaurus Games. We actually talked about this on a news show a little while back, but now the Kickstarter is up. In this game, you are necromancers, and you're all lonely. So you're going to throw huge, awesome parties. But to have a huge, awesome party, you need guests. And since you have no friends, you might as well make them. You'll be raising the dead by using both a secret action and then a community action. The way the game will work is you'll pick a skull out of a bag, which will come in 4 different colors, and use it to push off another skull on a sort of chart. And that skull you push off will be the action you take. Depending, each board has different color. One's white, one's red, one's black, one's yellow. Then, once you do your action, you will actually, whatever the most colorful skull is on that chart will be what everyone does. So it's not simply just doing what you want. You may want to be careful because you don't want everyone else to do another action. So it's a lot more of that, not the simple mechanics, but you have to keep track of what everyone's doing in order to make sure you are making the best moves, not just because they're best for you, but not also optimizing your opponent's moves as well. That's really important with the center circle. What's really cool because you'll place skulls on there, and to summon your zombies, you will actually have to form patterns like 2 black and a red, not in that order, but they have to be in lines connecting. So you will have to be careful about your placement and also making sure how to block opponent's placement too, because you can do a little zigzagging, but you do have to follow the pattern in the center, which is like this crazy multi-pentagram thing. So overall, it looks like actually a really great game. With all these, I love the idea of that you have to think a bit more of the turns and also not being too complicated.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, this is definitely a highly anticipated one from Pandasaurus, follow-up to their other great games. And I think it's really cool. It's sort of more of like a puzzle thing, how you're moving those skulls. And the idea of, like you said, as you explained, having both the hidden and the public actions on your turn. Very cool. I also just kind of appreciate how it's not, when you give that theme of necromancers raising the dead, I can very easily see in my head like minis on a board. Like, this is very different.
This is gonna have skulls in it.
Skulls are like minis, cool. But I mean not like dudes fighting. Right. You know what I mean?
Well, not only that, I love the premise. You're lonely necromancer, so you're summoning friends. It's that alone, it's already got my attention.
Yeah, no, it's good.
And it's really funny I don't know if you saw in the how to play. Because it's not fully completed. He's like, right. Yeah, these are the coins from the Machikoro set. This is probably the most macabre game it's ever been used in. All about it just looks so fun and light and entertaining. The game goes for $50 for the core, and I know it's already well funded with a lot of stretch goals, including replacing some markers. Last I checked, which is of course was a while ago, they haven't hit yet. They're like making all the money, like nice 3D bones or a 3D cow skull and stuff. Maybe they've hit it by this point, but it definitely looks like a really awesome game, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is a hot item come end of the year.
Sentinels of the Multiverse is a very popular co-op superhero-themed card game from Greater Than Games, and now they are kickstarting the Sentinel Comics role-playing game. Based on the same universe, this is an RPG in which players will be creating their own superhero characters and having adventures within this brand new system. Now, the beginner game has already been released for this, and if you look at the page, there's even some free stuff that you can check out online so you can try it out for yourself. But this Kickstarter is for the full, complete, hardcover rulebook, the core rules with plenty of information on how to build your character in depth, of course, some encounters, adventures you can go on, etc. The kinds of things that you would expect from something like this. If you don't know, Sentinels of the Multiverse has a really cool comic book style background lore. So this is a great thing for people who love superheroes, especially because you can create your own. It's not tied down by a Marvel or DC line. And also, I don't think there really exists a really, truly great or fully supported superhero RPG, and those themes are outside of them. So this is a really cool entry. It involves a system in which your superpowers kind of change as the fight goes on. So there are like different zones you're in, and they represent different dice that you can roll. And even as the battles continue, if your character is weakened or hurt, it actually affects you and your character gets stronger. So, it's kind of like your last grasp or whatever. You get different attacks and abilities. So there's some cool stuff going on with the combat there. And like I said, just the fact that we don't really have a really great, I don't think, write us if you think there is one, superhero RPG.
There were some, I know, at least
There's
for
a Marvel and DC. They exist.
But part of the problem is, you brought it up yourself, which what makes this better is because, let's say you do play the Marvel storyline, and someone asks yourself, if we involve Spider-Man, you're going to know some things, a lot of things, and maybe it's weird if you go off track because you may act like that. When this,
yeah, it's always tricky.
If I recall, the last card game expansion which came out with like Oblivion or something, Oblivion,
right,
in essence was a universe reset in it. So technically, whatever happens in the RPG, as far as is not conflicting.
Very cool.
So it's perfectly designed. The card game is great by itself, but the way they did this in this way, that works perfectly without making people feel like something's not right here. Your character can feel just as natural as you want it to be. We've loved the card game and design, and I'm really curious. I want to try this out.
Yeah, we did get to kind of look at some of the early rules and prototype components a year or two ago at Gen Con, I think it was. But it'll be cool to see the actual full final rulebook come together. For $19, you can get this in its PDF form. $59 gets you a big ol' hardcover book, and of course they have custom dice and a screen and some like dry erase stuff, all kinds of stuff.
It's a Kickstarter. There's always more than just the base.
If you want to go all out, you can. It's Sentinel Comics RPG.
Asmodee Games brings us a Thousand One Odyssey, where the choice is up to you. This game is a game that's all about choices, where you will actually play as a crew in space and making decisions. The way that works is there'll actually be a really big book, and you'll be playing cards like a location and a choice and another option. And these are a bunch of different codes that could add up to like 10B9. And you look that up in the page to find out what your choice made. Each person will actually also have a different role. So one person's the captain, more like making choices. One person, I forget the names of the roles, but like one's keeping track so you can actually save your progress. You go through different chapters. Each chapter is 30 to 60 minutes. And according to the Kickstarter, if I recall correctly, there's no way for you to just die and end early. And the game itself has 30 chapters as of now. I don't know if some stretch goals, because some of the stretch goals were actually some big people getting to write some bonus chapters, including some of the guys from PAX. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool because we love narrative board games. Of course, this makes me think of Tales of the Arabian Nights because of the 1001. It's in there. That's intentional. But in most of those story-based games, everyone's just kind of either you're one person or you're just people. But the fact that you actually have roles that matter.
Yeah, it's a bit more.
That's cool.
I mean, you're still all working together deciding, but it's a bit more like XCOM-y-ish.
Right. Or
I think
Space
just to help.
Alert,
I think to solve the problem like we have with Sherlock. You know how we have one person who's in charge of the book at times and like that. They're like, we're going to do that.
This does it just as a mechanic. Yeah, that's cool.
And sometimes they'll maybe show new locations, so the navigator's going to put new cards on the map. All the art is beautiful pastel, much more colorful and I think light. And it sounds much more, I think, lighthearted. So it just sounds like if you just have like a group of friends just want to go through a fun adventure through space and time, possibly, I don't know what holds. This sounds like a great option. This will go for $75, but it comes with a lot of cool stuff. And I mean, the choice mechanic with the story sounds really awesome. Not to mention the way it looks. It just seems like it's going to be a fun, unique experience.
Reach of Titan is another role-playing game from Third Act Publishing, in which you as characters are trying to take down massive Titans. Think Shadow of the Colossus, if you're familiar, or Attack on Titan, both properties that they name drop in the campaign for this, so those are definitely influences, and I think it has some really unique mechanics in it. First of all, most of the adventure takes place with you climbing these Titans, and there are actually different locations, such as, of course, the arm, the leg, the head, etc., and each one of those will have its own sort of map, and its own layout, its own different things for you to solve and encounter, and each Titan has a different way to take it down. Your goal is to go out and first hunt them down, then kill them, and depending on what it is, there's maybe some kind of a different puzzle that you need to solve to figure out. So it's kind of like the Titans are a giant enemy and a dungeon all in one. And the way that your moves work is you have a series of 6-sided dice, and you can use those for your actions, and you can allot them however you want on your turn. So if you really want to get something done, you could bring all your dice together for one action, or you could split them up to try and do multiple things. Some really cool ideas in there, and just that concept of, you're going to have this book that will have a bunch of different titans. It's basically a bestiary, but also that's kind of an encounter, like a series of dungeons you could run too. It's very cool.
It actually sounds like this could be a good supplementary almost. So even if you don't want to use their system, because I mean, the idea of climbing a beast that is a dungeon puzzle, I mean, I think there's a reason why Shadow of the Colossus is so well considered in the video game era. I mean, Attack on Titan too, but that's a show, so I think the game's probably a bit closer relation. This does look a little brighter than both of them.
yeah, I'm sure you can probably tweak that as you like.
Your GM could fix that.
There's some cool lore in there for sure.
Yeah, and that looks really cool. And I mean, just the idea of climbing a Titan, knowing how each arm is different. I'm sure if you're really creative, coming up with some crazy stuff that's in that book. And the allotment thing sounds too, because sometimes No, it wasn't with you. I was playing with a friend of mine in a different game where, because of the way the game worked out, my characters were useless. But if you can allot your dice to be like, okay, let's just put it all in combat, you don't feel nearly as...
It could be a really fun mechanic. For $25, you can get a digital copy of this, and for $60, you can get the physical version. They also have options to get it already to fit right in with the Roll20 system. You can see their logo on that screen as well. And if you don't know, that's an online RPG tool that you can use to run games with your friends online. And that's just cool that right out of the gate, you can have that integrated in that system if you're a user of it.
Let's now take a stroll with Keymaster Games in parks. You may recognize them from another Kickstarter Pickstarter did a while ago called Space Parks, but this one focuses on actual parks in the United States. In the game, you will be controlling 2 hikers and traveling to gain resources in order to make memories by actually visiting parks or upgrading your equipment so you can have better travel. You can occupy the same space if you have a campfire, but then the campfire is going to go out. So you have to sort of be careful how you move your characters along, sort of almost like a Tokaido method. And in the end, you'll see who visited the most parks. This will come with a solo version where there's rangers, which pretty much are going to be holding spaces. And the game itself the art is done by, I believe it's called 59 Parks, a print series, which do these amazing pieces of art. You can actually buy prints if you want, in addition to the game, for all these parks. And the art is beautiful. I think they actually came to them to be like, can you make a game using our art? And part of the proceeds will actually go back to parks. So you will be helping out by buying this game. Like I said, the art itself is amazing. The game looks simple but fun. It reminds me of like Tokaido when it's almost that just you're meant to just have a fun journey, and the art's almost more important just seeing the stuff than actually winning.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it's kind of along the lines of trying to, I don't know if raise awareness is the right word, but encourage people to visit real parks and like think about them and want to protect them, which I think is a good cause, and look cute and fun.
Yeah, and like I said, the proceeds giving some back is fantastic. Yeah. The art itself is amazing, and definitely some of those prints are worth taking a look at. And for $39 to get all that art on cards, as well as a lot of cute wooden meeples, and giving a little to charity as well, I think is a great price. And in case you're curious, take a look, check it out.
Awaken is an RPG that was on Kickstarter a while back, and we actually played it. We streamed some of it on Twitch. Maybe you caught it back in the day. The premise is that there are a group of people with superhuman abilities. It's a very interesting world that has a lot of different layers, different weird elements. There are sort of these giants that walk amongst people. There are some political aspects to it. There are different guilds that have their own unique interests, religious beliefs, ancient gods. But ultimately, it's sort of an X-Men style thing where certain people have these gifts, as they're called in the game. This Liborian Saga is a brand new book that comes with a whole new set of encounters that you can run through. There's a brand new in-depth storyline that people can campaign through together. Plus, of course, a whole bunch of new monsters, creatures, antagonists to fight against. And something that I think is really cool is that in this one, you're actually able to create your own gifts. So as a player, you can design design your own powers. I don't know exactly how that system works in terms of how they let you do it, but their example was like one thing is you can shoot a mind dagger, and they said, oh, you could make it a flaming mind dagger, set things on fire if you want. So of course it's an RPG, so you have leeway to kind of be as creative as you want with that.
If you ever are interested, as you said, X-Men, I think to me it's X-Men combined with the Guilds of Ravnica world, where they have all the guilds. But imagine with the racism, I guess you call, from X-Men, where people are like unsure about the powers and dealing with that, and which makes for a lot of interesting things because like you usually are from different guilds, so you have to explain why you're all together, which can make for some very interesting story mechanics.
Yeah, and it's got a system that uses 6-sided dice. It's very simple, pretty easy to jump into. It also encourages narrative storytelling a bunch. There's some rules for like you want to describe your actions, etc. And I think one of the things that we was missing from the original was it didn't have really that extra campaign. It kind of relied on the players to come up with more of that stuff. I think there was a short one in there, so to have a more in-depth one, I think is a great addition to it. For $15, you can get the digital version, and for $25, you get a hardcover version.
So those are our picks for this week. We got a good mix of both RPG and board games in there for you. A lot of really cool ideas. Really curious if you are backing any of them and which so why. Or, of course, if we ever missed any, let us know down below.
I know there were a bunch we both looked at this week, some really cool ones that we just couldn't fit in the show. So definitely talk to us about them. Or catch us on Facebook, Twitter, at Roll4Crit on all these social media platforms, Instagram, what have you.
Maybe we're on top of a Titan. Who knows?
Could be.
But until then, I'm Will.
I'm Jonathan.
And this has been Pickstarter.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more awesome board game content from Roll4Crit.
And please leave a comment. We're lonely.